Hello. 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 Hello.
We love sharing experiences. Our mission is preparing others to serve. Welcome to School of Mission Online. Your journey begins here.
Estas aulas que estão sendo tão interessantes e enriquecedoras.
Right now, welcome to our new class. Now we'll have a prayer to start our program with Victor. I'd like to ask everyone to close your eyes and now together have a word of prayer for our School of Mission. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for another opportunity to be here together to praise and honor your name. Be with this encounter, be with everything that will be said, sung, and shared here. We do everything to your honor and glory. In your Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much, Victor, to accompany us from far away, and may God keep blessing you in your journey. Now we'll have the company of 3 new guests, and be aware and attend to what they'll have to say to us. Now, well, we're almost at the end of our classes, and you know that to graduate, you have to do the tests after our classes. The last day to do all our tests is November 13. So if you're not up to date on your tests, remember to read the book that is in our platforms and do all the tests. Remember that the last day is November 13. Today we'll have the test about the classes taught today. And you have to read the chapter accordingly from our book and according to what will be said today. That's the material for the test. We also invite you to share with us the video of you singing our theme song so we can post. Right now, we're going to have Pastor Lucas Munoz interviewing Pastor John Oliveira. Hello, people. Really, we are all here enjoying this program, but we have now the opportunity to know a little bit more about our leaders and our pastors and see how our church is prepared to share the gospel around the world. Today we have the privilege to talk to Pastor John Oliveira, who is the leader of the mission all around the South America division. Thank you so much, Pastor Lucas, for the invitation that you gave me and for this opportunity. And from now, I already thank you for, no, I already congratulate you on this beautiful School of Mission you guys have. Thank you, Pastor. It's a privilege to have you here. And tell us, Pastor, um, we've been working hard on this mission during our pandemia, but still a lot of people left all around the world. How was it? Exactly. A lot of people, a lot of works that we have around the world had to be closed down, and a lot of missionaries had to come back sooner. But we still have a lot of missionaries spread around the world. We had 123. We have 123 young people still on the mission field in different countries. Amen, Pastor. Right now, we have more than 3,000 guys preparing themselves, getting capacitated, and they all have the dream to leave the country, leave their houses to preach the gospel. Pastor, what opportunities do we have for these guys? Well, even with the projects that were closed down temporarily, we hope that soon they'll get back open. But we still have we still have 100 open projects. So if you go to the page adventistvolunteers.org or sva.adventistas.org, you can find there a lot of projects that are still open, around 100 projects that are still open in different areas, health areas, ministerial areas, areas in social services, more technical areas. So we actually have a very diverse opportunities for anyone who wants to serve. We have areas in technology, communication, administration, which are tools in which the church can preach the gospel in many places. So I really stimulate everyone that is participating in the School of Mission to not only learn about it, but already start thinking about it. Think about where to apply all the theory that you're learning, so that you can also live this experience that will change your life from 2021. Well, Pastor, it's really a privilege to serve God in very different parts of the world. So, Pastor, I would also like to ask you if you have a message for all these missionaries that are listening to you and being prepared right now. Give us a little message to them. See, I like to say a lot of things, but our time is very short, so I like to say this. Jesus, he told his disciples in John 15, he told us that we have to love one another. You know, some people ask me, Pastor, is God really calling me? The question you have to answer is, are you really loving people? There, wherever you live in your community, if today you took your bag and left to a mission field, the church in which you're a member will miss you? Will they miss you? Are you compromised in your local church? Are you compromised in your friend group? If the answer to this question is yes, then I stimulate you to advance and go share everywhere else, because anywhere you are, God will use you. But if your church wouldn't miss you if you left because you're not involved, you should rethink. You should start first participating in your own church. So, because if you love people, you'll be useful in anywhere God sends you. That's my message to you guys. Thank you so much, Pastor John, for this moment together. And right now we'll go back. But first, I'd like to thank you and may God bless you and bless all your work. Now we'll go back to our program with School of Mission. Thank you so much, pastors. Thank you for. Right now, we'll continue our process of getting prepared so that we can be ready for anywhere we go. Well, now it's our time to begin our missionary journey. Today we'll travel to Uruguay and we'll meet Florencia Valio, and to tell us a little bit about her mission experience. Hi, I'm from Misiones, Argentina, and I'm studying mathematics to be a teacher. And right today I'm a missionary in Uruguay. Here I am. I'm a DIN, you know, the dorm dean. When I got here, I worked in cleaning around the dorms, but then later I began being the dorm dean, taking care of the kids, and then with the pandemic, I had to stop that. It's nothing like I had planned. We had to find another jobs. They sent me back to cleaning or to the field. We had to start another jobs that one never thought that would be doing. And you have to always be ready to whatever people will give you, because you might receive the job you want, but you might not, you know. So it has been 3 weeks. Three weeks ago, I started a new job, but it wasn't the same with this pandemic. When they told me to record a video to the people that are preparing themselves to do mission, it came to my mind that not everyone comes and does what they thought they would be doing. In my brain, I never thought I would work in cleaning. You know, I never thought I had to work on the field. But I believe that one advice I have to everyone that is preparing themselves to come is to have in mind that first God is in control of everything. Even though we think and we plan, but God is the one that controls from above. So you have to have that in mind. And two, that maybe you're prepared to do something, you studied something, but you may not be working on your area. And third, give yourself 100% in God's hand. Because sometimes we'll have to do things that we don't want to do. We might be tired. We might have to work more than we want. And so I believe that these three things, it's good to have in mind, and to know God is in control of everything. Not always will do what we study to do, and so always be ready to take any tasks that are given to you. You have to know that you'll be requested in many different areas, and so I stimulate you to dedicate I would recommend you to dedicate 1 year dedicating yourself to others and serving people that are in need. I know sometimes it might not be easy, it might be hard, but I believe everyone should experience that once in their life. Thank you, Florencia, for sending us this video, for the tips, and may God keep blessing you there in Uruguay. Right now, yes, we'll begin our class with no more waiting, and pay attention, take your notes, and because it will be useful for our quiz later. Tonight we'll have Pastor Albert Kuhn, his master in ministerial work. He's right now in Andrews. He was missionary in Asia for 10 years. He started the mission in Mongol. He was missionary in Brazil. He's the secretary assistant. He was secretary assistant in South America, and now he's working in the General Conference. Right now he's the director of social missionary services in the General Conference. And today we have him with us. Hi, Pastor. Welcome. It's a privilege to have you here with us today, and we'd like to know, how are you? How is everything there at your house? From where are you speaking? Tell us something. Yeah, now it worked. I'm having fun. Watching every interview, watching the videos from Florence in Uruguay, watching you guys doing this work. It's very fun to get back and be back in touch with this great university, which is one of the great universities that prepare students for mission. So this is why it's a privilege for me to be here. I'm here in the USA ever since the end of February. We haven't traveled. Today is the first time I left Maryland, my state, to come here to Andrews and to do some things here, and to record this video for you guys that are ready to learn. So, Pastor, thank you so much for your words. Right now, with no more wait, the time is yours. Perfect. Hello, guys. What a joy it is for me to be here with you guys. I'm talking to you guys from the historic Pioneer Adventist Village, this church in which we belong and that we are part of and that we're proud to be. Why is this village special? This village is special because this place was mentioned in the prophecies. This place was in God's heart. This was the home of people who were in love with mission, just like you and I. Here you can see Ellen and Tiago White's first home. From this place, missionaries were born, pioneers were born. This place right here, Ellen White received the Great Controversy vision, a vision of what would happen to the world in the future. And it was revealed right here to Ellen White from God. I'll sit right here and and I'll say, like my pastor Luis Gonçalves, for those who know him, he always says, come a little closer, come here with me, and let's chat a little bit about the history of this place, which was the birthplace of Adventism. This movement that began here in Battle Creek, it was a small movement. It was during a winter season where the cold weather was intense, where there was no heating system, there was no technology. Here in this village, in this place, I'll show you some pictures later. This was where God revealed himself to simple people, but people who had the desire to listen to God's will. People that desired to do God's will above their own. people that dreamt in sharing the hope message. My heart is moved when I stop to imagine how it was like to be here at that time. How could they do it? There in the middle of the 18th century, a little 17-year-old girl, together with our younger pioneers, they were all inspired by God. They had the opportunity to finish their school, they had the opportunity to graduate, to be very well in life, but they chose to listen God's voice. They opened their hearts to God's dream for them. They were inspired and they visualized God's glory. Ellen White always talks about this, that God would show her his glory and his dream of sharing the gospel to all the four corners of the earth. In this house, God gave Ellen White a lot of visions. In this house right here that you're seeing, God gave Ellen, for example, the vision of health. Look how incredible. Not just here in this village, in this Battle Creek village, but God told her about the world mission, but he also gave her some specific dreams. Here in Battle Creek was where they started the first church's food industry, the first food industry of our church. She received this important information that is so essential for our lives, which is taking care of this Holy Spirit's temple. Because that's why I tell you guys to take care of your bodies. Make sure all your senses, all your thoughts, all your capacities are clear of all things that may affect it negatively. We can live this way by following God's message, God's health message given to Ellen White. Here in Battle Creek is where they opened the Kellogg industry. You know, the cereal Kellogg's. But of course, after they departed from the church, but this Kellogg, this work inspired our church to open many more others. As you all from Argentina know, that we have the Granix, is one of the most known advanced food industries. In Australia, we have the food industry called Sanitarium. In South Korea, we have the Samyuk Foods, which is it's a large food industry there in Korea. In Brazil, we have the Superbom. In Loma Linda, here in the US, we produce many healthy products in which our church members can enjoy. Our church members can have the privilege to have a good health. And that's not all. Here in this place, Alan also had the vision of education. The vision that education should be spread all around the world, preparing young people not to only prepare them academically, but spiritually. And today, we have a large educational system, which is the largest system other than the Catholic system. Ours is the largest educational system in the world, with more than 1 million students. God gave the pioneers here, right here in Battle Creek, the education vision. The WAP is a fruit of that. It's a fruit of the vision. But they didn't stop there. The vision about our publishing industries were also brought to our pioneers right here. And here, they started the first publishing industry. And right now we have one in Brazil, the big Casa Publicadora. In Argentina, we have the Editora Sudamericana, ASIS. In the USA, we have the Review and Herald. There are publishing houses in Europe. In Africa, you can find one. In Asia, there are many ones. Even in China, we have a small publishing house. All fruits of pioneers that loved God's dream, that lived God's dream for their lives. Right now, I would like to tell you guys something. I'll tell you that in a second. In our second video at Andrews University that I'll be sharing with you guys. Here in this place right here, was where God told Alan and the pioneers, but specifically to Alan, that he didn't want the church to simply stay at a local church and only reaching to the people surrounding this church. The message given to us in Matthew 28 is for us to reach the whole world. God doesn't want a local church only. He wants our church to be global. From here, the first missionaries were born. From here, the first missionaries left. One thing I remembered is that here also God gave our pioneers the task for the pioneers to build medical institutions. Today in the USA, the Adventist hospital system is one of the biggest and well-known medical systems. In Argentina, we can see the sanatoria. In Brazil, there are many hospitals. In Australia, we have many hospitals. In Europe, we also have. In Africa, we have hospitals. Not forgetting the boats, the boats we have that can reach the hard-reaching places of the world. So that is why it is a privilege for me to be here at this place. To imagine that inside that house, right now I can't go inside the house because of the pandemic, but I've been inside the house and there's a room, Ellen White's room. Inside the house was where Ellen, seated at her chair, she received the most important visions that God gave to her, but not only for her, but to all his church. So here we can see where she lived. We can see where for many years the church meetings took place. Here in this place they prayed and they cried, and right here they left their dreams aside and followed God's dream. Here's where the seed of evangelism was planted. That is why we're here remembering these moments. In being right here, I'm thinking of everyone, each one of you. I would like to say one thing to you guys. As a missionary that I am, with all the years that I spent in mission, trying to follow and give continuation to their work, to the pioneers' work, I'd like to tell you guys something. I'd like to tell you guys something very precious. The thing that will fill our hearts, the thing that will give our lives purpose, the thing that can change someone else's life is your decision. Someone else's decision and salvation may depend on your choice today to go and share what you know or not to share. I'm not saying you have to be a full-time missionary. You can serve wherever you are. If you're a doctor, you can be a medical doctor. You can be a missionary doctor. If you're an engineer, you can be a missionary engineer. If you're a psychologist, if you're a teacher, if you're a businessman, make of this business a center of mission so that many people can find Jesus and can soon see him in heaven. And you know why that is important? Because the most precious thing in Jesus' coming will be when he looks at me, looks at you, and says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You were faithful in the little things. Now I'll put you in a high place. Come into the joy of the Lord." Now we will talk a little about our mission at Andrews University. Hello guys, we're here now back at Andrews University to talk to you guys about I'll talk to you about mission beyond the USA. When we were together in Battle Creek, we could see how God inspired our pioneers through dreams and visions, but also how God put in their hearts the desire to do something great, leaving their dreams aside to dream God's dreams. That's what we saw in Battle Creek. Leaving their projects aside to carry out God's projects. And that is why there in Battle Creek, we now have major health institutions, we have many food factories, we have publishing houses, hospitals, and the largest Protestant educational network in the world is part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the biggest educational system. Most churches, they are called congregationalist churches. What is a congregationalist church? Let's say a church is born in Cordoba, or in Entre Rios, or in Ushuaia, and the church is only concerned with the small region where the church was established. There the church grows, they build a building, they build a small school, but is restricted in a small geographical area. Well, God inspired our pioneers to a global church. God challenged our pioneers to leave their land, leave their neighborhood, and go to places where people had not yet heard of Jesus. And one of those people who started with Ellen White, Tiago White, Guillermo Miller, and all the other pioneers is right here, John Andrews. John Andrews was known as the first overseas missionary, the first one who left his land and went beyond the seas. And an interesting thing when we look at the life of John Andrews was that his wife, who was with him for several years and he was his dream partner, his wife died 2 years before. And we can think, sometimes the tragedies of life make you rationalize the plans, make us rethink our plans. So it's natural if we think, so it would be natural for John Andrews to give up on his dream, to give up on going and sharing God there in Europe. But look how incredible. 2 years after the death of his beloved wife, Andrews decides, and we can see in this photo, the sculpture of John Andrews with his 2 children, Charles, who was 16-year-old, and Mary, who was 12 years old. John Andrews as a single parent. Here you can see him with his 2 kids, Charles and Mary, in Boston Harbor, before boarding the ship that took them to the city of Liverpool in England, and from there to Basilea, Switzerland, where John Andrews started this tremendous missionary program of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. At 45, John, with his 16-year-old son, with a 12-year-old daughter, John Andrews goes to the mission field. And you know what impresses me? And I might get a little closer here, so we can see and we can look into Charles and Mary. These 2 young people who accompanied their father on this missionary adventure in Switzerland. Look, Charles was 16, Mary was 12. They were so young. I believe that most of you that are listening to this right now, you are older than 16. Well, they left the USA to Switzerland, which at the time in Switzerland they spoke French or German. They had to learn a new language. And the story goes that Charles and Mary were John Andrews's right and left arm on the mission. They helped their father to type on those typewriters. They would type sermons, lessons, Bible verses. John Andrews, when he was 17, look how amazing. His son was 16 when he went to Switzerland, but John Andrews at 17 embraced the Seventh-day Adventist doctrine. And more than that, look at the conviction of a young man. Look how young people can make a difference. And at this phase of their lives, look at their capacity, look the energy, the intelligence, the disposition you guys have. The energy to face challenges, to overcome obstacles. John Andrews also embraces the Sabbath doctrine. His doctrine is now part of his heart. Not only that, he also embraces the doctrine of Jesus' soon return. And these two things, the doctrine of the Sabbath and the return of Jesus, make of John Andrews, make him detached from all things. And look, not only that, he was a scholar, a tremendous administrator. He helped write part of the administrative structure of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He was one of those who laid foundation to this church to have structure today. So he was one of the founders of our church's structure. Imagine planning a local church, association, regional, a union that involves 2 or 3 states, a division comprising several countries, and a world headquarters with a unity of in purpose, with only one objective: to bring the message to all corners of the world in a united way, in a way based on the biblical principles. John Andrews was not only a great administrator, but also a great theologist. He wrote a lot of what today is the doctrinal structure of our church today. He was one of the first to write about the beasts of the apocalypse, of Revelation. One of them being the United States. An American, through studying the Bible, he realizes what God was trying to reveal to his people, and therefore, look people, he goes with his children, Charles and Mary, to Switzerland. And there in Switzerland, the missionary project of the Seventh-day Adventist Church begins. How is this missionary project today? See that one of the things that I do at the Seventh-day Adventist Church General Conference is to help our missionaries to go to the different places of the world where there's a need for people qualified to organize. We need people to plan, to structure, to train the local leaders to fulfill the mission of the church. That is what I do here. One other thing, today, for example, the Adventist Church has about 800 families from all over the world, serving everywhere in the world. It's just like our lemma, our theme. I will go from everywhere to everywhere. We have missionaries from Africa serving in the USA, missionaries from the USA serving in Asia, South Americans serving in Europe, Inner America missionaries serving in Australia. It is this globalization of the church that makes us a church that remains united in the purposes of Jesus. Today, about 800 families serve God around the world. Volunteers, you may ask. Today we have nearly 2,000 serving serving for at least 1 year in challenging places around the world. More than 2,000. Not only volunteers, but we also have, for example, doctors who are serving in very difficult places around the world. We have missionaries who work for ADRA, helping refugees, helping people who would otherwise have no one to reach them. That is why, people, the mission of our church is what makes us a global church, today present in more than 205 countries around the world. The mission keeps us together. The mission makes us dependent on one another, and most of all, dependent on God. Do you know why? Just like John Andrews and his family, alone, by our own strength, there are no conditions. We won't make it. By our own intelligence, we do not reach the heart of an Asian, for example. But with God, everything is possible. And look at something else. I want to finish talking to you about John Andrews. John Andrews, after 2 years in Switzerland, he suffered from pneumonia and he died. The seed left by this great man of God, who died yet at an early age, is today what moves each one of us missionaries. The desire to see the hope that appears in our heart and see people opening their hearts to listen to Jesus' second return. The question I ask you is this. You that are studying, it doesn't matter what you're studying. You know why? Because to God, what matters is if you really use the talent that He gave you. If you're studying to be a teacher, a pastor, a doctor, a psychologist, an engineer, an administrator, an accountant, it doesn't matter. The important thing is, are you willing to put in God's hand all that God gives you? Your time, your talents, and what not say, your whole life. To dream God's dream, to help preach the gospel and to continue what our pioneers did in the past. They left us the example, and now the question is, will we continue what they have started? Will we follow up on what they did? And I am sure that the WAP and you who are listening to me right now will continue and will be faithful to our famous I Will Go. I Will Go started there at WAP. It was dreamed by two young people, two young men, who wished not only to be intellectually capable, not only to build a professional career, but more than anything, give back to God what He did for them. So today, this great project, I Will Go, Shoire, is the motto of the church for the next 5 years. It started in the hearts of two young men from WAP, and you're now today being challenged, as well as John Andrews, as well as the initiators of I Will Go, to continue this mission. It cannot stop until the day of Jesus' return. May God bless you. May God use you, and allow that the dream of our pioneers may also be part of your dream until the day when Jesus will return to pick us up, to take you, to take me, to take John Andrews, Charles, Mary, and all of who heard through their influence, through mine and your influence, together in heaven. May God bless you. May God help you. And may God make you a great missionary in Argentina, in South America, or perhaps somewhere in the world. Thank you so much, Pastor, for today's class. It was incredible. It's very cool to see a place so special like this. Missionaries that are part of our history. Hold on, I can't hear anything. Hello, hello. Yep. Can't hear. Alright, we're having some technical problems. Alright, now we can hear each other. Oh, not anymore. You know, these things happen. I don't know if it's my headphones or... Alright, so it seems that the pastor is also having some communication problems there with our presentator. Alright, so we're having some technical difficulties, as you can see. Alright. Right now we'd like to know... Alright, so the pastor is trying to give a solution. The pastor will connect on YouTube. Alright, so they're trying to solve this technical difficulty. So the pastor imagines Samuel is asking him, what questions? Now some questions will be shown in your screen, I believe. So the pastor is saying that he listened to our class on YouTube and it was perfect. So the pastor is saying, today that we saw where it all started, where the church movement started, and it wasn't only the Adventist church that started there. A lot of other churches started there in Battle Creek at the same time. The Methodists, the Baptists, you know, God had a purpose, not only through the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but through other churches also, to share. It's important for us to see where it all started, to see where the pioneers started their work. So the question is, mission, to be a missionary and to do mission, is it for everyone? Today I saw Pastor Johnny talking to Pastor Lucas, and Pastor Johnny told me some things that caught my attention. That person that sits around at his church, is not involved, is not compromised, will he be a good missionary? So the question is, do mission and be a missionary. Is it for everyone? And the second question is,
Vamos para a segunda, vamos para a segunda. O senhor me escuta agora?
alright, so Samuel is asking if the pastor can hear him, and the pastor is saying, sometimes I can hear, sometimes not. But while the pastor is saying that he was looking at the chat, he was looking at the comments that you guys were commenting. My wife was connected and she was excited listening to these classes, and it is very cool to see you guys doing this work. Second question. When talking about mission, is there a limit?
Isso a gente está querendo saber, pastor. O que o senhor acha?
We would like to know that, Pastor. What do you think about this? Well, I'd like you to help me to understand. What do you mean when you guys say limits? When talking about mission and limits, well, I believe that to God there are no limits. To God there are no limits. If the question has another meaning, you can help me out, but you can see that the hardest places to be reached in the world, even those places, we know that there are ways, there is a possibility for us to get there, to take them the hope message. We don't have many Seventh-day Adventists sometimes at these places, but we have other Christians doing this work. People that risk their lives, for example, in North Korea. In North Korea, we have people that are Christians that follow the Sabbath. We don't know who they are, but we know that they exist through information of some people that left North Korea, and that I had the joy to chat with some of these people who left North Korea and told that there are Christians there sharing the hope message. For example, in North Korea, the guys in South Korea, they create large balloons that is so large that it can carry a lot of weight. They fill these balloons with messages, with radios, with CDs, flash discs, flash drives, and they send these large balloons with all this church material. They send this balloon with a timer that will the balloon descends in North Korea. So the people in South Korea send church messages all the way to North Korea through these balloons. So there are no limits to God's work. And the young people are the most important people for this, because you're the most creative, you have the most energy, and this is what I tell you: don't put limits, because God can use each one of us in ways that we haven't ever imagined. Even if you don't have the will, even if you have a problem, pray about it, because God will open the way and will help you to achieve these. God will help you to achieve these goals. Alright, you kind of already answered our question, Pastor, but the next question is, Pastor, if something bad happened, if a tragedy happened, how can we deal with that in a mission field? Well, this question this question is very important to our lives today, to what is happening to the world today. When you live with no problems, a lot of times in English we say you simply go with the flow. You go as if you're in a river. You simply just go with the flow when you have no problems. When a problem comes, first you need to think. Second, sometimes the problem brings pain. Third, the problem sometimes brings insecurity. The problem affects directly your family. The problem sometimes make you not have money to pay your bills. So there are a lot of things exist. So many situations when a tragedy happens, the tragedy, I'm not saying a tragedy is God's plan. God is not the author of tragedy. The tragedy is originated by sin, but sometimes God permits it so that God uses these tragedies to make humans doubt God's belief, but God sometimes permits it so that a young person can wake up in which he wouldn't do if he was in a going with the flow way of life. And the tragedies and the biggest catastrophes were the great moments where the message was most shared through the world. Why? Because you're more sensible. You're doubting. You start doubting your life when tragedy happens. For example, the pandemic makes us reflect on the control we have in our lives. Did you see that like in 1 week when this pandemic started, the schools closed, the churches closed, the planes stopped flying, the countries closed down, the world stopped. So nobody has control over anything. So this that happened with the pandemic is a little example of what will happen in the future. So in these moments where we see that we have no control, that we start doubting, and that we're open to listen, that we're sensitive. In these moments, in these situations, we can make people reflect on the possibility, on the alternative, that which they may have never thought about. You have the opportunity to open the Bible and maybe through some Bible verses show some prophecies so that people can see that there is a God that created this world that today is in sin, and because of sin, look, the virus, in reality, we don't know where it started, how it started, but in this world, most of the biggest tragedies of the world, they happen because of our actions. The burnings in California, the burnings in Siberia, the fires in Brazil, the tsunamis. In reality, a lot of these are natural, but a lot of these are consequences of the destruction that humans have brought upon our own house. So in a sensitive moment, it's not the time for us to scare them, but it's the moment for us to help people to reflect on the present, the tragedies, and help them how help them in the future to have hope with the security that God has control, and that who puts himself or herself in the hands of God will have a future of hope. So the tragedies in the world is our great opportunity. Not to say, see Samuel, I told you you should have opened your eyes. Not to point at others. That is not our job. Our job is to help people reflect with a lot of care and love, help them to be closer to God. Yes, Pastor, we agree with you. Now we have another question. You talked about this a little bit at the end of your presentation. So, Pastor, do I have to study theology to be a missionary, to be capacitated to do mission? Alright, so this idea of making theology to be a missionary is a very traditional thought. The idea that one has to do theology to be a missionary. Of course, through many years, the pastors were the ones who went. The pastors who started. The pastors now, they're praised by this because they were the first ones to go. But today, the church is established in more than 210 countries. And what does that mean? It means that in most of these places, they already have their pastors. They already have their structures. In other words, some places still need pastors, of course. But in many places around the world, we need people specialized in different areas. We need doctors. There are many opportunities for doctors, for nurses, for psychologists to... Today the world is full of refugees. For example, young people, young women. We need young women. For example, in some countries, a man cannot counsel a young person. So in many countries we need a psychologist, a woman psychologist, because she's the only one who can help them. In many places we need a person specialized in communication, so we can promote, so we can create different programs that can share these messages through online methods. So not necessarily have to study theology, but you have to have basic knowledge. If you want to be efficient, because all young people want to make a difference. All young people who leave with the right desire, he wants to be useful, he wants to make a difference. So the more knowledge you have, the more basic knowledge you have, the less you will suffer, because you will know the challenges that you will face there in the mission field, the tears you will cry in the mission field, the pain that you will have from being away from your family in the mission field. So that is why you need to prepare yourself. See, there in WAP and right here in the General Conference, we're working on a website that we want. We're opening a website that we can not only show where you can go as a missionary, but in our website you can see the stories of people that went, stories of how it was a more complex. So yeah, they're preparing a website called learnmission.org, which will teach everything about the mission, not only the places available to go, but how these places are, what you need to know before you go, what do you need to avoid when you're in these places. So you need to learn the most you can, and this in which the WAP is giving us is a great opportunity for you to learn the most you can, so that you can get more things right rather than things wrong. So you can have more success instead of failures, and that will save you a lot of time and a lot of suffering. Well, Pastor, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the class, for answering our questions. We're extremely happy for your presence here with us in the School of Mission. I'm sure everyone listening learned a lot. I hope God still keeps blessing you, your ministry, and your family. And yes, let's say out together, I will go. I send a hug to everyone there at WAP and in the School of Mission. Well, guys, unfortunately, our class is coming to an end. So, well, we have only 2 more classes, so you can't miss it. We'll be waiting for you the next Fridays. Next Friday, who will be with us is Sam Neves, who will be talking about digital mission. Right now, we'll have a quiz talking about the chapters 20 and 22 of our book and today's classes. May God help you today. And as every Friday we do, we will say bye to you guys with our theme song, I Will.